This is the Ielts speaking test simulation. Hi, welcome. Can I start by asking your name?
Hi, my name's Lucy.
Hi, Lucy. And whereabouts are you from?
I'm from Melbourne, Australia.
Right. And are you studying or working at the moment?
I'm studying. I'm studying to be a nurse.
Oh, great. Now we're going to start with part 1 of the Ielts speaking test simulation. We're going to talk about the future. What job would you like to have 10 years from now?
I think I would see myself as continuing nursing for as long as I can really think of. So definitely 10 years from now.
Mm-hmm. And how useful will English be for your future?
English will be very important for my future. It's a very important language in Australia for me to be able to speak.
And how much travelling do you plan to do in the future?
I honestly hope to do a lot of travelling. I really want to go to Iceland, but I really want to see so much of the world, like as much as I can.
What other places in particular?
So Iceland, Norway, I really like the Nordics, but I think I'd also like to go to America and then like Europe, so more like around England and Germany and that kind of area.
Great. How do you think your life will change in the future?
I honestly don't know, but I hope that I will be a more independent person and a more steady and happier person in the future.
Great. Now we're going to move on to part 2 of the Ielts speaking test simulation. Now I'd like you to describe a book that you enjoyed reading because it made you think a lot about things. You should say what the book was, why you decided to read it, what reading this book made you think about, and explain why you enjoyed reading this book. You'll have 1 to 2 minutes to discuss this topic, and I've got a paper and pen for you if you'd like to take some notes.
Thank you.
Great, time's up. Thank you. Now, please describe this book that you chose.
So I've recently been reading Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard by Rick Riordan, and I'm finding it to be one of my favourite book series ever. It is a fantasy series which is based in the real world where the Norse gods exist and interact with people, and I find it very interesting to learn about different mythologies, so I'm enjoying learning about that, and I'm also finding the characters really intriguing. There's a lot of different representation of people and the different types of people, or in some characters' cases, not people, but just I love how diverse it is. There are LGBT characters, there are characters of color, there are disabled characters, and it feels very real. And that is something I really like when fantasy novels feel like they could be in the real world and make you feel like you could also be a part of that adventure, as long as you can find the way to get in there, which is something I'm really enjoying. What else to say?
What does it make you think about when you read this book?
It makes me think about Norse mythology and how, even though it feels so far away from now, it can still have an effect on daily life. You can still see the effects of an old religion in today's life, which I find really interesting.
Oh, great. Thank you for that. Now we'll move on to part 3 of the Ielts speaking test simulation. I want to talk to you about children and reading. What are the most popular types of children's books in your country?
I would say in Australia, the most popular children's books would have to be fairy tales and other young novels, and I guess it depends on the age. But for younger children, like storybooks, and then for older children, like fantasy novels, I guess.
And what do you think the benefits of parents reading to their children are?
I think it can really not only give you an opportunity to spend time with your child, a way to kind of finish the day if you do it at night, but also it allows children, especially if they're too young to be able to read, a chance to kind of explore their imagination through reading and learn about different things and different stories and kind of get a broader scope of what life can potentially be like or what people can be like, which I think is very good.
And do you think parents should let children pick which books they read?
I think it depends. For example, like I think they should be able to choose books that are age appropriate. Like you shouldn't let a 3-year-old read a horror story, but if the child wants to say read the same book over and over and over again, then it doesn't really cause any harm.
And now talking about electronic books, how popular are electronic books in your country?
I'd say they're fairly popular, probably like 50-50 to paper books.
And what do you think the advantages of parents reading electronic books to their kids is compared to printed books?
I think it gives an opportunity to read books that you might not be able to find in a store because you can find it online. Was it benefits? Sorry.
Yeah.
Benefits. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think it gives an opportunity to find stories that you wouldn't be able to find in the shops, or ones by smaller authors who may not be able to get their books like physically published. And yeah, I think it broadens the scope of potential books.
And lastly, do you think electronic books will ever completely replace printed books in the future?
I don't think so. I think people get attached to having physical books, as well as some books, they were like a limited edition, and it's kind of hard to replicate that in an electronic book. So I really feel like while maybe electronic books may become more common than paperbacks, I feel like a paperback isn't going to go away completely.
Oh, thank you very much for your time, Lucy. This ends our Ielts speaking test simulation.
Thank you.